Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. To my right is Sid Schwartz. If you don't know Sid by his face, you certainly know his Instagram handle, which is Jazz and Coffee, and his 14,000 followers. You can also find Sid more recently at his jazzandcoffee.substack.com. What's your latest entry there, Sid?
So the latest one, I had hoped to have another one up this week, but COVID had other plans for me, and I'm not quite as sharp as I would like to be today.
Wow, you could have
Uh,
fooled me.
Coffee does funny things with the energy level late in the day, but uh, recap all of my Instagrams on Monday. Basically, I enhanced them with additional sound clips, with additional links, some additional content. Those most recent one you'll find there. Those go up every Monday. Additionally, there's also some new music that I've been listening to that go into a Monday recap. And then I usually kind of have a thought piece at the end.
But I asked Sid to come on the channel to go over his top 25 or whatever they may be jazz records of 2023. I know I did mine, and a couple of people have done theirs on their YouTube channel. So I thought I would just give the stage to Sid to have at it. And if I have any questions while you're talking about these records, I will ask them.
So just I like to talk about this in the context of it really being my favorite records of the year as opposed to the top records of the year. Always makes me a little weirded out when I talk about the top. It's like what makes a record better than another. I mean, we all have our preferences, and I don't know if you know this one. Alec Lexi, this is on the Jazz Aggression label.
Great cover.
Great cover. I'm going to hold this up. I hope you see all this clearly in terms of the song titles here, but you're going to recognize some of these. He has some originals, but he also covers Mount and Wayne Shorter, Monk. It's a record that has its roots very much in what one might call classic hard bop, but it doesn't sound old. It sounds fresh. It sounds modern. Lexi is a young guy. And
where is he from?
Well, he is now from New York.
Before that.
Before that, he is from Finland, I believe.
Cool.
Super nice guy. The label, it's one of these kind of one man operations that has done both some archival work as well as some some new stuff as well. And this is a fantastic record. Their take on Bolivia is wonderful.
But the all important question we have to ask for each record: was it cut from the analog tapes or was it digital? I'm just joking, really. I don't care.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'll tell you this: the record sounds superb. This is across two LPs, so and nice heavy duty jacket. Really terrific record.
Is it 33 or 45?
33.
Cool. I'll look for that.
Yeah, great record. You have to love that. I'm gonna pull this one here. This is really a special record. This is Andy Hayes, Children of the Sun. I'm gonna give you a moment to kind of look at this.
Andy Hay, Hay.
Hay. This is through Bandcamp. This is also a double record. Each cover, I'm gonna just show you the back to show you generic white sleeve. This is hand painted. Each one is individually hand painted and also comes with, slide this carefully here because some neat stuff in here. It also comes with an additional hand painted insert.
Wow.
And
a lot of work.
It is a ton of work. He puts together, this is a hand bound line and all the info on who played on the record. This is it sounds a lot, if this were on, if I played this for you sight unseen and said a lost Strata East title from the mid 70s, you'd go, oh yeah, wow. that tracks. That's right.
Wow.
That's amazing. Includes a lovely kind of thank you note handwritten.
How many of these did he print?
So not a ton. They're still available. If you go to his site, they are still there. Bandcamp shows it as one of their picks of the year. I have to look. He's on Substack as well.
Is that an American artist? Is he a U.S. artist?
A British artist. Just really, really uplifting. In my review of it, the emotion of joy had a soundtrack. This is it. This is a record you're going to put on and just feel, terrific about. It's a great record. Sounds great and really wildly enjoyable. I don't. This is a very late this year record. Impex, Bud Shank, Barefoot Adventure. Do you know this one?
I don't, and by the cover of it, that's something I would steer away from. But tell me about it.
Okay, so Bud Shank on alto and baritone, Bob Cooper on tenor, Carmel Jones on trumpet, Dennis Whittemere on guitar, Harry Peacock on bass, and Shelly Mann on drums.
Wow.
Yeah, this is one of those, boy, I think this, judging a book by its cover cost this record dearly back in the day.
Well, it is a Pacific Jazz title. Wow.
Yeah. If you're expecting, Annette to come, leaping out and, beach blanket bingo, it doesn't sound anything like that. This is a really, really cool, pop modal. It is impeccably recorded. This
Shelley
record,
and Gary Peacock. What an unusual rhythm section. Wow.
yeah, and they dig in. This is also not a I sometimes I don't even want to call it a West Coast scene because that I feel like that's become kind of an overused and not very
overused, but there's something to it. Back in the 60s, West is very different from East, but yeah.
Yes, but it sometimes I think it implies an overly laid back or unserious or this is serious. This is terrific jazz. It is so beautifully recorded, and
Wow.
Impex does amazing work.
Impex,
Impex, yeah. This is through Elusive Disc, I think is kind of the associated parent company, and great.
Wow.
Very, very, very very happy with this record. I have played it a ton.
Wow. What year is that record, more or less?
I want to say 61. Am I right? 61. I am right.
Wow.
Ha, curse you, COVID. I got you.
I've never seen that before. And at the Jazz Record Center, we have a bunch of Bud Shank records. Some are really great, some are, whatever, but I've never seen that one before.
Yeah, it's one of these things where, and sometimes you kind of look at the covers of these especially some of the West Coast jazz records, and you see these guys kind of hanging out by the it's like Archie and Jughead at the malt shop. Like you see these guys kind of like lazing out by the surfboards or in the parking lot or whatever, and you feel like anyone from an East Coast combo would come and like take their lunch money in like 5 seconds, but these guys these guys have been taking kung fu lessons. Like I would not mess with them. They are really great.
Right.
Anyone would be super happy with this record. This one I think you may have mentioned.
Art Farmer on the new contemporary reissue.
Yeah. So this one I think any trumpet quartet record puts a lot of pressure on the trumpet player. It's one thing when you're in a quintet and you've kind of got that other horn player to, kind of, excuse me, balance things, round things out a bit. But spotlight's on you, man. This is it. You're carrying the weight. And Farmer does it really, really well here. Now, I know a lot of people really prefer to hear Farmer on flugelhorn. They kind of like the more rounded, kind of less sharp attack. I think the trumpet works for him really, really well here. There's Golson Stablemates on here is a highlight. I mean, just really fantastic.
Who's in the group?
So this is Hank Jones on piano, Addison Farmer on bass, and Roy Haynes on drums. And Roy Haynes, I could drum the phone book and I'd be happy to listen to it.
I agree.
The guy can do no wrong. I think the other thing to point out here, the contemporary 70th anniversary, now in its 70th year, that they've been celebrating it, is they've done, I think, just an absolute fantastic job. That I have yet to hear one of these contemporary reissues that I've gone like, they really just kind of,
Agree. Yeah,
yeah,
the
phone
packaging's
this one
great.
in.
Sleeves
They've
are
done a
great. They've done a fantastic job. Yeah.
really great job. So pleased, and the point is good. I think these are all solid values. They've also they've done a really nice job just in general with the quality control on the vinyl. Like it's easy to go online and read some of the reviews and be like, oh my god, there must be some sort of huge problem with the pressing plants, blah blah blah. I have yet
Everyone I've
to
gotten is great. Yeah.
fantastic.
Great
So
QC. Yeah.
this one is a little pure. The Jazzman label. I don't know how well you know Jazzman at
I
all.
love that label. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Al Tanner Quintet. This is an
Pull
obscure
it
set.
back a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm going to pull it out of it's the reflection on the sleeve is probably not doing it a whole lot of here.
Huh.
Can you see
Featuring
that?
William who? Pull it up a little bit.
No.
William Smiley Winters. I've definitely seen that name before.
Yeah.
Huh, but I don't know the leader.
Yeah, but also it's got one of my favorite titles, man. Happiness is taking care of business. Dig. Um, this I have only one minor complaint about this record. It's a live record, and the intro goes on. It's like listening to that live Bodhisattva 5 intro, which is more amusing than this. This intro goes on, for 3 minutes, and it's about 2 minutes and 45 seconds too long as the M drones on and on. But once you get past the intro, this is an excellent record.
Is it a gatefold?
No gatefold.
Who's in the band?
Comes with like all of the jazz band reissues, it comes with a really nice write up. Gerald is the man when it comes to jazz. So let me see if I've got all the
Gerald who?
Gerald Short is the guy behind man, and he does compilations. He does obscure titles, and this is
They do lots of great stuff.
So there we go. It's Al Tanner on piano, William Smiley Winters on George Alexander on trumpet and flute, Roy Henderson on tenor sax, and Edgar Williams on bass. And
sort of, I don't know any of those guys.
Yeah.
How would you describe the music?
Recording. It's modal, but leans a little experimental at times.
Really?
Nothing that's going to nothing I would worry about, but they stretch and they stretch beautifully.
Wow, really? That cover would give you no indication of that.
They don't sound like a this is not a cool West Coast record. This is one of the best records you're going to hear this year.
Can you hold it up and hold it up a little higher and pull it back a little bit? There we go. Wow. Yeah. Crazy. Okay.
Really good. Also a Bandcamp pickup. This is one you may have in the shop.
I wish.
This is on the one of my favorite labels. This is on the Barely Breaking Even label.
That's another label, Barely Breaking Even.
Right? Great label name. So this is fourth volume of the J-Jazz, Japanese Jazz, Deep Modern Jazz from Japan compilation.
And that's a 2023 reissue?
Yeah, this just came out a few weeks ago.
Where'd you get
that? This is also a Bandcamp. Bandcamp, one of the things, just to talk about Bandcamp for a moment, one of the many things I like about Bandcamp is if you buy a piece of vinyl Camp, and this is probably on a per release basis, so I don't want to make a blanket statement that I then have to walk back. The artist can often to allow a digital download to go along with purchase, which is what happens here. Which look, I know people have different feelings on vinyl, digital, whatever. I can't play this in the car, but I like having a fully lossless copy that I can put on my iPhone or other digital device that I can play in the car, or if I'm or whatever. And to
Right.
me, that's a great value. Not to mention that you're buying through Bandcamp, you're giving the maximum amount to the artist
Supporting
in a
the artist,
transaction.
sure.
So, I like that a lot. So J jazz, Japanese jazz. This is, the is
Beautiful.
pretty small, and the liner notes continue, by the way, on
Wow.
on the inside. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, this is amazing stuff. Um, there are two collectors based out of the UK, Mike Peden and Tony Higgins, who started this some years ago. I got fascinated. I ran across an article, I want to say it was in like Paste magazine, or I forget the exact magazine. They described an album, a quartet record by a group of 60s who basically put it together as a business card to get gigs. Their entire reason for pressing the record was to hand out to various club owners to get gigs. And
Right.
what a crazy story. It was part of this compilation, the first volume of this, which I ordered and played. And it was one of those records where, as I playing it, where I'm in the living room, my wife is with me, and we're reading and we're listening to this. At the end of it, we both kind of turned to each other and said, "Wow, that was like some of the most exciting jazz we've heard." And it just sounded like anything else. It was really quite different.
Huh.
Um, Rhythmically, very intricate but very propulsive. And some of the artists, were bordering a little on heading toward fusion. Some were a little heading toward free jazz. Some were doing things with bop that just seemed a little out of the ordinary. And the more I started reading about it, the more fascinated we got, and that started leading me down the Japanese jazz rabbit hole. And let me tell you, it's a terrific rabbit. It's an expensive rabbit hole, but it's a terrific rabbit hole. There is so much and so much uniquely Japanese jazz. When you start reading about the history, and that here's a genre that was culturally important, that suddenly World War II comes around and it's banned because this is the music of the enemy.
Oh, it was popular
it
before. Jazz was popular
yeah,
in Japan before the war. I didn't know that.
yeah, and then it kind of comes back, and you have servicemen trying to find gigs and play, and you have local Japanese players, and you have people like Sonny Rollins and Miles, other people coming through, and they're playing with their own band, playing with local bands, and you have this whole Japanese jazz cafes starting to spring up, and they go supernova. I mean, all of a sudden, an unbelievable amount of them. And as the dedication of the Japanese musicians to develop their own sound and their own style, say their own styles, because there isn't just one style, there are many styles, and so many great records have sprung from that. These collections, and again, this is the fourth volume. There are all four volumes highly recommended, but you really kind of can't go wrong. And this one leans a little more electric in terms of instrumentation, but not completely. There's still plenty of acoustic stuff here, but highly recommended. This is great stuff. You try to do this without getting a
Wow.
in there. Art Pepper. This is the complete Maiden Voyage recordings. You have probably seen at least some of these come through the shop here and there. Art Lives, Art Pepper. Yeah, right. These were all on These were all bits and bobs of these came out on Galaxy over the years.
The Galaxy.
Yeah. So this is all from August 1981. Art's Quartet did a 3-night stand, August 18th through 15th, if I recall, at the Maiden Voyage. And this is with get all this correctly here. So with
Like a giant booklet.
a huge booklet. This is
Wow.
George Cable's on piano, David Williams on bass, Carl Burnett on drums. Booklet. Let me see if I can do this.
Wow.
The cool thing here is, in addition to the, you also get these scans of Art's notebook.
Wow.
He was able to listen back to these tapes. First time that everything is available. More than half of this has never been released before.
Seven
So
CDs.
7 CDs.
And where was the Maiden Voyage? I don't know this club.
This is LA.
In LA. Okay.
Yeah, these are, Live Art Pepper in his latter part of his career is some of my favorite music. I absolutely love, where, Art was using his, his horn as therapy. He recognized he had wasted so much of his life and his energy, prior to his, years of incarceration and all of the demons that he was fighting. And
right.
The stage and the studio kind of became therapy for him. In post 1975 coming out, he did some additional recording for Contemporary. There was the Live at the Village Vanguard. It was interesting. That was his, he had not played New York as a headliner ahead of the Village 77, which is astounding. Wow. This is Art Pepper. And there are, the Village Vanguard, the Ronnie Scott's 1980, these Maiden Voyage recordings are my three favorite Live Art Pepper releases from those latter days. And there's no shortage of live recordings. There are a ton.
Where did you get that?
This came out in early November. CD only. There's no digital equivalent. There's no vinyl equivalent. This is through Omnivore, who've done a couple of Art Pepper things there, and they're a small, pretty focused team. But this is in cooperation with Lori Pepper, Art's widow.
Oh.
And she oversaw the liner notes. She contributed a part notes here. I'm sure you've read Straight Life, and note to any viewers who haven't read Straight Life, if you want to read one of the great biographies,
No Holds Barred,
No Holds Barred. It's not going to make you like Art Pepper as a person a whole lot, but you will walk away with a much broader perspective on the context of his music anyway. Sound incredible.
Wow.
This is amazing. And the liner notes add a lot. It's one of these things where even though from a convenience standpoint, it'd be nice to have a digital only release, having the pads a lot. I think the other thing, and just to take a break from pulling releases out of the box for a moment, and as a store manager and as guy who worked in labels for much of my career, I think a lot of what we're seeing now on the CD side of things in terms of releases, labels are generally not going back to the well to produce a second run or a second batch of these.
That's the same thing with these fancy box sets. I mean, they don't call them limited, but they are.
So, it's one of these things where I think, if you see something and it's something that you think you might be interested in, pull the trigger, make the investment, because the secondary market prices, unfortunately, there's also a lot of folks who have gotten into the hobby for reasons of not loving the music, but are trying to turn a profit. And that's sad and unfortunate, but not a whole lot to be done about it. So pulling out that was a record store day title that I thought was a worthy record store. I really like this Brubeck record. And, there's no shortage of Brubeck records. There's no shortage of live Brubeck. But I think the reason this made a good choice was this is pre-Time Out.
Right, 59. Wow.
And when you listen to it and you kind of you hear, they start, two-part contention goes on for almost 12 minutes. Gone with the Wind goes on for over 8. They're having some fun. They're pushing each other a little bit in ways that you can hear them kind of pulling back after Time Out. Now they've had the hit. Now they got to start giving the audiences what they, now they used to teach Jimmy Buffett about, did he ever get tired of playing Margaritaville? It's like, well, no, that's what people come to, hear. And that's what the college audiences came to hear after Time Out, big hit, right? I mean, they wanted to hear Time Out, and it's all well and good, but that also means that if you need to leave room for Time Out and you need to leave room for some of the other better known repertoire of the day, you can't necessarily out for 12 minutes here and 9 minutes there and 10 minutes there on some of the other stuff. So everyone had to pull back a little bit. So hearing, for all of that, especially if anyone who starts to get a little jaded about Brubeck going, oh yeah, well, in my early jazz days, of course I love Brubeck, but now I'm on to more advanced.
I'll
Listen to
check it
this.
out because I'm probably one of those guys that doesn't have a lot of time for Dave Brubeck. But in '59,
Yeah,
he's probably on Fantasy at that point, and that's kind of a different Brubeck.
it's definitely a different vibe. I didn't see that one coming, and I always
Hmm,
appreciate when something like that happens because hearing an artist like that in a kind of different phase of their life when they're a little scrappier, sometimes hungrier, a little
exactly.
more improv heavy. Um, no one listening to the Grateful Dead's Touch of Grey is going to listen to a Dark Star from 1969 and think they are the same band. Let's stick
Oh, there we
there
go.
for
Well, that looks unusual. Jerry Garcia and David Grisman. Wow, what label is that?
and you'll note that this is a record store day piece. This was So What. This one became kind of a quiet runaway sensation. I don't know. Let's see if you can read
Huh?
on this clearly. You got So What, Bags
Bags
Groove.
Groove, Milestones. Another
Yeah.
So What? Another Milestones. Grateful Dog.
Yep.
That must sound fascinating. It's just those two guys. That's it.
Well, you've also got Jim Kerwin on bass, Joe Craven on percussion, and Matt Eagle flute on a couple of tracks.
Huh?
Um, so no singing. This is them taking a little modal excursion.
What year is that?
So these are recordings from March of '91 and June of '92, and looks like
Wow.
we got one from December '90 here, and they're between 7 minutes and 10 minutes long. So you've got largely guitar and mandolin carrying the day.
Hmm.
This is reference quality in terms of for the audio files out there. This sounds amazing.
What label
Uh,
is that?
so this is originally acoustic disc, which is Grisman, but org music.
Korg Music?
Org.
Oh, ORG. Right, right.
It is absolutely quote from Ornette Coleman down there on Jerry.
Huh.
Ornette and Jerry recorded together a couple of times. And this is I have some good natured fights with some of my jazzier friends who are not deadheads. I my roots are very much in the Dead. I did my college thesis on Deadheads. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. We also have, boy, my favorites. I mean, I could go on and on about the Tone Poet series because there's a lot to enjoy there, but I very much appreciate Andrew Hill's Dance with Death a little more than the others this year. Joe Farrell and Charles Tolliver, I think, are just a incredible dynamic duo.
Lenny
Phenomenal.
White, early Lenny White. Oh, is it? Oh, it's Billy Higgins.
Yes,
Lenny White's on one of the other Andrew Hill reissues from this year.
yeah. Victor Sproles on bass. They great job on the
Beautiful.
beautiful photos there. And I don't know if you remember the initial cover on this was part of the classic LT series. It was the
Right.
one with the dirty red shoe in the
Yeah.
dirt.
I like some of the LT covers, but I get it. And those are all color photos. That's unusual for a tone poet.
It is,
Wow.
yeah. And they really, some of the Fish and Rice. There's a Fish and Rice, the last tune on side A. It's this kind of demented boogaloo track, for people.
Demented Boogaloo.
Yeah, people with two left. I mean, it's crazy. It's like every time I listen to it, I can hear my late eighth grade advanced math teacher, Mr. Teaching me complex fractions as I sit there sweating trying to figure it out.
Sounds like me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this record. It's one of those things where I think Hill's music, which intimidates a lot of people. I wrote up something about point of departure the other day. That point of departure is not where I'd start with Andrew. Dance with Death or Grassroots. Sometimes you talk to someone who comes from kind of a more aggressive metal or punk, who really love the Vandals, or someone who really loved Biohazard, or someone who kind of came out of that New York club scene where it was like a lot of really necessarily easy listening music, and they're like, oh, point of departure, that's hell, I'll listen to that to go to sleep.
Right.
That's easy. It's like,
Right.
boy, they don't, what they don't want to hear is time out. Brubeck is that's putting that I don't like that. So look, different. It's one of the great things about the hobby, right? I mean, it's like let's have a conversation. You like it, what is it you like about it is what I'm interested in. Like, not everybody should like everything. I mean, what fun is that?
Right.
Are some records that just they kind of they belong in pretty much any collection, and this would be one of them. I think I saw that. Was this on your list as well?
It was not, but
It
yeah.
wasn't. I think I mean, not a lot needs to be said about either this or its sister record, Waltz for Debbie.
Great record.
It's a great record, and I think the great things about this is that after many years of either your choices being a super expensive pressing, or one of these kind of wax time doxy file, whatever the European gray market labels, I was out by the OJC cut. I did not expect it to sound nearly as good as it sounded. It sounds really good.
They're all really strong too. I mean, in my the few I've gotten, and the QC is really great on those too. Like the one of Miles working was very close to my original, which shocked me.
Now I've not heard originals of any of the Bill Evans. I don't have that as a reference, but I did have the 2 LP 45 of for Debbie that Analog Productions did, and I have the MoFi Sunday at the Village Vanguard, both of which I hold in incredibly high esteem. Those are both some of the best sounding in my collection, and the OJC. I mean, maybe there's this much daylight between the two of them, sound quality wise, but talking about, I forget what these retail for, $38.99.
Yeah, about $40. Yeah,
$40. You're going to pay 10 times that on the secondary market. And
easy. And are those easy. The OJCs, are those Chad Kassem cuts, or is it Kevin Gray? Or I mean, it might be Kevin Gray or Chad Kassem, but
these are Kevin Gray cuts.
Okay, right. So, the man who never sleeps. There's 2 Kevin Grays.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. I mean, that guy's blood type must be Red Bull. One of my favorites.
Is that a tone poet?
Yeah, no, this is part of the Blue Note Classics series.
Right.
Again, I think one where the choices were not really choices. You could either track down a secondhand Analog Productions, double LP 45 RPM, a couple $100. It was pretty expensive. Or there was like a Heavenly Sweetness cut, which sounded terrible. Or at least my copy sounded terrible. Yeah. And that's not a slam at the Heavenly Sweetness folks. It's just my particular copy of this particular record on Heavenly Sweetness was not a good pressing. This great. So highly recommended. This is one of those records where and I do a deep dive on this kind of the beginning of my favorite era of Hank Mobley. I love his final era. And this is there's a big article on this on my Substack. So if you're in this record and Hank Mobley's 60s period, I go into the whole the Feeling's Good, which is the single March session that half of this record was culled from on my Substack. But there's just wonderful playing throughout all of this, and the sound quality on this is really good. I mean, for the $25 you can find this for in any jazz fan would be happy to have this on the shelf.
Right.
I really liked this one. There was a long for this one.
Now, who put that
at? So this was one of Chad's. This is part of the Verve acoustic sound. Vinyl lives.
That must sound great.
It does. My previous cut of this, I think, was a late 80s. If I recall correctly, it was one of the last shots that Impulse was doing some of these. They were calling it an audiophile pressing. I don't even know what the provenance was.
Probably DMM and
But this actually feels like Roy Haynes is like next to you using your head as a snare drum.
I believe it.
It sounds awesome, and this is a great record.
That's one of the top, that's to me, that's one of the greatest jazz records of all time, and probably shot out behind Rudy Van Gelder's studio in the woods.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Huh.
I mean, it makes sense,
Sure.
Because Inglewood Cliffs is sort of situated in a little forest of trees. So
It's a killer. And just absolutely thrilled with the sound on this one too. Really
Great
sounds great.
record.
What a killer record. And
Insane.
how good does this sound, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
Just phenomenal. And I have to say it's one of these things that I've listened to now several, and I'm like, well, why don't I should probably have more Phineas Newborn Jr. collection. It was really going down great with coffee, and
Yeah.
again,
I asked in my video I said something happened to his career and someone said he had mental illness. So after a while he was recording less and less and maybe he died young. But that album is just perfect. It's astonishing, really.
I don't know if one has hit your shop yet, or if you carry anything by Sam
We
Records.
carry all the same stuff. Wow.
This just
We
hit.
have not gotten that. Wow.
Yeah, so very soon. This was a real rarity for a very long period of time.
Wow.
Impossible to get a hold of. This
The
record,
music is great on that, but the cover is so phenomenal. It's just it almost looks like it was, a pastiche, like a collage, but I doubt it was. It's too early. And it's such an amazing cover. You're like in the studio, I mean, wow,
yeah.
what a great cover.
Oh, it's a phenomenal cover, and he is, first of all, I mean, multi-instrumentalist, composer, band leader, arranger, also amongst the earliest musicians, black jazz musicians to flee the institutional racism that was and is so pervasive in the United States, and
So he was from the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
And did he move to France or?
Copenhagen.
Oh, wow. Huh.
And he is hooked up with this Danish radio orchestra, and I'm not going to embarrass myself in attempt to pronounce the names of those orchestra. NHOP and Alex Reel, who both played with Dexter Gordon a lot. When
they're on that record.
They are on this record.
Ah.
Palia Mikkelborg, another name that you may recognize.
Stuff on ECM. Yeah.
Yeah. Also on this record, just and the sound is excellent. If I recall correctly, like almost everything else on Sam Records, it's limited probably 1,500 or 2,000 copies.
I don't know if they're. I mean, Fred at the store seems to replenish those. It takes a little while, but talk about quality control. It's just off the chart how beautiful those records are, and the vinyl is perfect and so consistent.
I love the Rhino high fidelity. I think this is a record that when I was in retail in the mid '80s, a secondhand record shop for a long time, and even when I went away to college, I still found a way to find a local secondhand record shop and work there because I couldn't stay away. This is a record that you used to see in the shop quite a bit.
Now you never see it,
and now you never see it.
Never see it.
And it's interesting to me because Jocko's first record was kind of a little more traditional kind of jazz fusion that you might in the other one on Columbia that you might expect, and this one sounds this is not absolutely nothing like that, but definitely a step further, a step more advanced compositionally.
It's more him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's writing for a far larger group of people, and when you look at, looking at the number of people credited inside this,
it's all the great players of the day,
right? It's nuts.
I think it's Peter Erskine and probably Brecker, and it's all the great players of the day. It's pretty insane.
Yeah,
they really kicked ass, and he really kicked their ass.
No question about it. You've got Wayne Shorter, you've got Toots Thielmans, you've got the Brecker. It's a who's who, and it's not just look at how great I can play bass. It's really way more than that. You also get the liner notes by Ricky Schultz, who's our guy at the Warner the time, when they were kind of trying to, kind of reboot and get into, a different groove of jazz, and to kind of hear, his perspective, especially his perspective now looking back on then, is
Well, that's
really
interesting.
interesting.
Huh.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
it's really cool, and I like, their approach to the marketplace. They're doing these, two titles every few months, and one is jazz and one is rock,
Huh.
and it's, not necessarily what you would expect. Look, it's if you read whatever it is, the Hoffman forums, or Hydrogen Audio, some of the other, places out there, collectors are a fussy bunch. Folks, they should do this or they should do that, and it's having sat on the label side as long as I have, it's very easy to play armchair label executive, when you're not working for a label, and go, they should do this and they should do that, and whatever. And I think it's terrific that all these opinions are being shared. Labels will never what the demand is out there if people aren't making their opinions heard. But I also think there's a big difference between saying, gee, I wish Warner would release that, and Warners are a bunch of idiots, know what they're doing, and this is a mistake, and this is a disaster, and this is going to fail. And if you're wondering why label executives don't participate more in forums like that, because
Yeah, I mean, we're living. I mean, I think Music Matter sort of opened the gate, and then the 75th anniversary series, which people tend to hate, but they were from digital. Now it's just like this is an incredible period for jazz reissues, and it might not be like this forever. Who knows? But it's an incredible period. Like, I wasn't even really aware that Rhino was doing this. Did they also do a Coltrane record?
They did Coltrane Sound. Well, I think an element of it, though, is that, folks as, yourself, or the, Jazz Bums, or, Mazzy, and Melinda, some of the good YouTubers there, you guys work really hard, and you're doing a great job in curation, because especially to someone who either may be new to the hobby, or limited in what they're able to do time wise, or finance wise, what do you do? What do you buy, and how do you buy it? Valuable service. I'll include myself in that list. How do you,
Definitely.
and it's why I think, the labels, have kind of it's a frenemies relationship with anyone who's in that, that curator land. On the one hand, of course, they do want the feedback. On the other hand, particularly these last few years, the issues that are plaguing the pressing plants, and the backlog and supply chain, and kind of all that stuff, the labels are also kind of understandably absolutely no slack in the system, or room for mistakes. It's like the moment something is wrong, boy, you hear about that way more than you hear about the things that are going right.
Oh, geez, yeah, that's one of my favorite records of all time. Oh, wow. Who put that out?
So this is also Rhino.
Wow.
Rhino did two outstanding Little Feat reissues this year. They did Salon Shoes and Dixie Chicken, which on vinyl are triple LPs. You've got one LP is kind of the core album remastered. You've got a second LP, which are outtakes or unreleased tracks, and then a third LP, which is live. And man, these have been some of the most satisfying reconnections with music that
Wow.
I've loved since I've heard it.
Right.
Um, had real deep communion with it. My
Mm.
college days have always kind of, I've never lost my connection with it. The success to me of a reissue campaign like this is when there's enough additional, context, and
Yeah,
it's
let's see that gatefold. What's in there? Because that wasn't a gatefold originally.
well, this is more than just a gatefold.
Wow, it's a trifold. Wow.
Trifold,
Oh
and
man, I gotta get that.
so
Holy
it's
crap.
trifold, and not only got all the cool lyrics, but the booklet. See if
Wow.
we do justice to this. You've
Who wrote the
got
liner notes?
so these were David Frick.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you've got
Damn, I'm gonna order that tonight.
incredible deep dive on all of this. And this one, the third LP is live at the Palladium, 1971. I mean, this is primo Little Feat.
Wow.
And Um, I cannot say enough about what a great job Rhino did curating this. Jason Jones, the A&R guy responsible for this at Rhino, absolutely crushed it. And this is on the heels of they had done an expanded Waiting for Columbus, which they expanded to an 8-disc set. Waiting for Columbus, for those, I know there are some who, find that era a little beyond where, they prefer their feet, but this, I have played this to death.
Man.
Unbelievable.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Little Feat qualify as sort of a forgotten band.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, and they were singular. Nobody sounded like them. Incredible drummer, great
Mhm.
Lowell George. I mean, just funky. Then they did the fusion thing a little bit, and that period was really amazing too. But what a
Yeah.
great band! Oh, that's a great choice.
Um,
Epic.
and there's a jazz related release. I didn't vinyl. I've only gotten the high res digital, but I know it's out there on vinyl. Chico Hamilton, The Master. You know that record?
Is that Pacific Jazz? What is that?
Prestige, if I recall correctly, from '73. It's essentially Little Feat's jazz record because it's Hamilton backed up by Lowell George and Bill Payne and the rest of Little Feat.
Really?
Yeah,
Chico Hamilton?
yeah, and that is a really, really fun record. Talking about non-rock records, this is a triple.
Connie K, though, I think on drums, so it's a jazz record.
Okay, triple
Look at that.
LP.
Wow.
If you may have picked up some years ago, they did a 4 CD Blu-ray package of Moondance that had every outtake, every
Wow.
and it was great. I think from a listening perspective, if you're a student of Moondance, you couldn't get enough of it. I think if you were a slightly more casual listener of Moondance, it may have been a little tough to listen to, outtake 2, outtake 3 of this, same track, over and over as a listening experience. This is curated differently. There, you get the core album, and then you get kind of a, series best outtakes, some of which were on a previous Record Store Day release, some were not. But I think they had different plans for what they wanted to do with this. But the original 2-track stereo tape, I believe, is not in great shape. So they went to Steven Wilson, who we invoked before.
Oh, wow.
And he remixed it. And
wow, really?
If you need this, if you want a copy of Moondance on vinyl, this is a Kevin Gray cut. This Steven Wilson remix on vinyl, the Kevin Gray cut, this sounds phenomenal.
How many records is that?
This is a 3-record set. This was being sold at Amazon a few days. It was like $39.99 for this triple LP, which, as far as I was concerned, was a steal.
Dang.
Yeah. King Crimson, Tongues and
new?
Just came out a few weeks back. This is the 50th anniversary edition, completely remixed from the ground up.
Wow.
Including something that they're calling the elemental mixes. Where they went back and David Singleton, who is Robert Fripp's kind of business partner managerial guy, kind of said, from my ears, let me go back to the multis and there's certain things I always felt were underemphasized, or certain I felt could be brought forward or out in certain ways. And it works. So even though I love the record as it was originally done, the elements are a revelation. You listen to these things and you're like, whoa, that's radical.
So it's a full remix?
So you have one disc that is as is. You have one disc that is a full remix. So you have a 2023 remix. You have the original mix. There's an instrumental mix, and then this elemental mix, and then you have selections from the master reels of stuff that never made the record.
Wow. So instrumental mix, you mean no vocals?
No vocals.
How crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I got to get that.
And an Atmos mix. And it's really the Atmos mix. So I know Atmos can be a little controversial. Some folks like it. Some folks are like, I don't like the I've only got 2 ears argument. That to me is a crazy argument.
I mean, I've only heard it once, really, when they did some studio in Midtown. They did Giles Martin did Revolver, and it was like dropping acid, man. It was insane. The
It's great.
seagulls are strafing overhead, and it was surreal.
Yeah.
And for a record like that, it really, really made sense. And for that record, that'd be amazing. Wow.
Yeah. And I
And
think
no, you would think they would cut a vinyl. They went to all that trouble.
they did. They did cut vinyl. I've not picked it up yet. They did cut vinyl for it. That's it for my best of the year. This is my big hope for next year. Please, pretty please, pretty please. This is my boot copy because I can't afford an original. I've never even seen an original. An original doesn't exist as far as I know.
I don't know anything about this record. What is that?
The Mike Taylor Quartet. This is part of the Lansdowne series of records in the UK. The Don Rendell, Ian Carr Quintet, probably one of the better known UK combos coming out
Right.
of Lansdowne. Phenomenal sound, out of anything Lansdowne. Mike Taylor player. How do I describe Mike Taylor? He more people know Mike Taylor than Mike Taylor actually. If you own Cream Fire,
What is it again? Say that again.
Cream Wheels of Fire. Do you have the Cream Wheels of Fire record? So Rat and Warthog or Pressed Warthog, and he wrote that. And something else on Wheels of Fire. I forget exactly what.
I thought that was Ginger. I thought Ginger Baker wrote that. No, he wrote.
That's Mike Taylor, but he
Oh, wow.
the drummer on this one is John Heisman.
And what does Taylor play?
He plays piano.
Can we see the back of that record?
Yeah, it's going to be all fuzzed out because this was clearly scanned from a Russian CD.
Wow.
Yeah, as you can see, the word mono is even cut off at the top here because they scanned the book.
So this is you're hoping that's going to be reissued?
This is in my top 10 jazz of all time. This record is Mike Taylor's amongst the saddest of stories. This guy is a Nick Sid Barrett type of story, kind of has a mythological standing now. At the time, he was a slightly oddball genius musician who over time started to become more and more erratic in terms of behavior, started to isolate from friends and family, clearly suffering from the effects of some sort of difficulties with mental health. His ongoing issues with taking LSD more than was good for him. Not that I know that there's any amount that's good for anybody. It's not for me to decide. But a heavy marijuana and LSD use, disappear for long periods of time, was living on the streets for a while, and then one day walked into the ocean and his body was found some days later, and he was in his 20s. If you were to hear his cover of Night in Tunisia on this record, or Gershwin's But Not For Me, they don't a whole lot like you would think they sound. And then side B of the record, which is all originals, he is just such a unique composer and player. Quartet record, and then he did a piano trio record. This is just amazing music.
And what is that pressing that you
I think this is I picked this up at a flea market. I mean, it is so laughably, cover. This is one of these laughably, bad, bootleg. What are they? A Rhino record in name only. I mean, it's just a.
Right.
Did they even spell Columbia correctly?
So is it really like a Russian knockoff or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, total knockoff.
Well, Sid, thanks for talking to me, man, while you're under the weather. I really appreciate it. You look pretty dapper to me, and your voice sounds good. So I was glad we could do this, man, and maybe we'll do another one in the future.
I would very much look forward to it. Thank you, on, and just take a moment to thank you, and whether it's behind the counter at Jazz Record Center, or your channel, which again I think helps jazz collectors and vinyl collectors, both experienced and beginner, figure out where to go and what to do. I also think, voices within the community, whether it's kind of, helping to kind of take the temperature out there of what's going on, or maybe that the right info is getting out there. We have a responsibility. So, I'm glad to see you're taking it as seriously as I take mine. So, wishing you and yours all the best for a great holiday. Thanks for a great 2023 and to great things in 2024.
Thanks, Sid. We'll talk to you later, and we'll see you on Jazz and Coffee and your Substack. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.